Well, according to the latest Black Knight mortgage report, mortgage defaults have started to hit a critical level we haven't seen in the last 2 years. And that's what we're going to talk about this morning on the Housing Nerd. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Jason Ferrier. I'm a realtor and investor in Central Ohio. I've been doing it now for the last 7 years. And if you're looking for unbiased, unfiltered takes on the housing market and real data from the ground level, not from the sidelines, you came to the right spot. And if you're looking for somebody to tell you you should buy a house, you came to the wrong spot. If you're looking for someone to tell you that you should not buy a house, you also came to the wrong spot. If you're looking for somebody to say, hey, the market's never been so toxic, you should not buy a home, my channel's not for you, because you only know you. I'm here to give you the data you need to make the right decisions. So let's talk about mortgage delinquency, shall we? The latest Black Knight first look report just came out, and there's some alarming info in here, needless to say. Serious delinquencies are up 14% year over year, or 60,000 borrowers. What's more concerning is that FHA delinquencies, not just serious delinquencies, but overall delinquencies with FHA mortgages, those are up 63,000 mortgages year over year. 63,000. Is that a lot? Seems like a lot to me. Higher serious delinquencies, along with the VA moratorium for foreclosures being lifted, caused an increase in foreclosure inventory and sales. They both rose annually for the first time in nearly 2 years. So if you've been paying attention to the mortgage market, you would know that delinquencies on mortgages have been historically low for the last few years. There's no doubt. That's what the data shows us anyway, when you first look at it. But we'll talk about in a minute why that may not really be the case, and that data may be hiding something more sinister, I would say. The other thing I looked at here was disaster events such as hurricanes, wildfires, and the like have led to year-over-year delinquency increases across several states, including Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, and California. So basically, you've got, where we saw these big, awful disasters with the fires, the hurricanes, and whatnot. People are struggling to pay their mortgages. No kidding, right? Now, for a lot of those folks, there is some relief available with different types of plans, with whether it be FHA or your mortgage servicer, that could help you if you are affected by those things. Stay in your house and maybe mitigate some of the pain until you can get back on your feet. But even with that, there is a large increase in some of these delinquencies in these states. Florida is up 44 basis points, South Carolina up 17 basis points, Georgia up 14 basis points, and California up 10 basis points. The other part I looked at here in the summary was monthly prepayment activity, meaning refinances, jumped to 0.59%. That's a 30% increase over February and the highest prepayment activity since November. That would tell me that despite mortgage rates the way they are right now, people are refinancing properties. And these aren't investment properties, by the way, mostly. These are probably single-family home properties people live in. And they're, refinancing them with super high rates now. I mean, it's not like rates are low compared to the last few years, right? So they are increasing the prepayments, the refis, probably to access cash and equity, because the equity is really not in your house. It's really not worth anything unless you sell or refinance, right? Like, you can't do anything with your Zestimate. So I would imagine you have a bunch of people with Zestimates and, their equity, they see it on Zillow, right? and they go, look at me, king of the castle. Look at my equity. I'm a mogul. And then they have to figure out how to access that equity. So what do? They refi. And the average, by the way, the average homeowner in the U.S. who has a mortgage, or I'm sorry, yeah, the average homeowner in the U.S. with a mortgage has something like $300,000 in equity. $300,000. So they're trying to access that 300 grand. What are they trying to access it for? Probably to keep their current lifestyle, whatever that is. So you've got the typical story of somebody living in the suburbs, has a corporate job. The wife maybe has a corporate job or not. And they're like, we need some, we got to keep this thing going. We got to get, summer's coming. Got to put a new pool in, right? Got to go on vacation. Got to go to Disneyland. So to go to Disneyland, to put that pool in, to put the hot tub in, to buy the side-by-side. Those are really big here in Ohio, right? Side-by-side, like Polaris or Razors, they call them. People buy those, $20,000, $30,000. To buy those things, you got to have some cash. So what do? Pull the equity out of the house. Very similar to what we saw back before the GFC, right? In fact, we'll get to that in a minute too. So let's look at some more details here. That was about prepayments and refis, my little tangent there, but got a lot of people accessing equity, I think, right now. So let's look at delinquency rates. Total delinquency rates, loans that are 30 more days or more past due, but not in foreclosure, 3.21%. That's up 0.41% year over year. So a lot of people, or a lot more people, we've got an increase there of folks that are delinquent or behind. But the overall rate is still really low at 3.21%. During the GFC, that rate was 11%. It spiked at 11%. Actually, like right after the GFC is where the spike in mortgage delinquencies happened. So we're way off from that peak in during the GFC. But before the GFC, right before the GFC started, we were at 3.10. Right now we're at 3.21. So when I look at that chart and I think about these refis people are doing at higher rates than probably what they took the mortgage out at, right? A lot of people probably got a mortgage at 3%. Now they're refining at 6.5 or 7 or 7.5, or they're getting a HELOC, a home equity line of credit. So those folks are all struggling. And they're refining. And so you would think that if you flash forward a little further into the future, you're going to see more delinquencies because people are accessing their equity in order to, pay for their lifestyle. So during the GFC spike, top was 11%. We are now, before the GFC, they were at 3.10%. We're at 3.21%. Total U.S. foreclosure starts, 33,000 in the U.S. 33,000, not that many, right? It's really not that many. That's up, though, 27% year over year. Number of properties that are 30 days or more past due, but not in foreclosure, 1.74 million borrowers. That's up year over year, 33,000 mortgages. 33,000 year over year. All these numbers are going up, all of them. Number of properties that are 90 days or more past due, but not in foreclosure. So seriously past due, but they're not in foreclosure yet. How is that possible? We'll get to that as well. 495,000 borrowers. That's up 60,000 borrowers year over year. Number of properties that are 30 days or more past due or in foreclosure, 1.957 million borrowers. Year over year, up 40,000 borrowers. Yeah, 40,000 borrowers year over year. So when I look at the foreclosure numbers, I wanted to find out how many foreclosures were in my area. So I'm in Columbus, Ohio, or near Columbus. I looked at the county that that Columbus is in, Franklin County. There were 586 homes in some type of foreclosure stage. 586. When I looked a few months ago, that number was 333. So there are about 250 more homes in foreclosure in the Columbus, Ohio area versus a few months ago. I think I looked back in January or so. So there's definitely more foreclosures in my area, at least homes going through that process. I'm not seeing them on the street yet, at least a lot of them, but I am seeing more. In Licking County, where I live, which actually that is the county I live in, small county, it's where the Intel project is, 110 total foreclosures right now. I got this information from Propstream, the local information. And so Propstream is a software I use to hunt for deals. The link's in my description below, but that's a great software. It's actually better, in my opinion, than the MLS in a lot of ways. Houston, Texas, how many foreclosures were there? I looked. Just because they're a non-disclosure state doesn't mean you can't find the data. If you use Propstream, you can find the data. 1,524 total homes in some type of foreclosure process. So there are foreclosures out there. All right, now let's talk about why there are 2 million, nearly 2 million borrowers in default, but there's only 33,000 current foreclosures right now. And by the way, only 6,100 total foreclosure sales. Let's talk about why that is. You've got 2 million in this bucket of people that can't pay their mortgage. Then you've got 33,000 foreclosures. And it's like, why? Well, what's the big discrepancy there, right? Well, the big discrepancy, folks, is that, and you probably know this, I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know at this point about foreclosures, but FHA and the VA have had various types of moratoriums and loopholes that they've put in place for borrowers to not make mortgage payments and not be in foreclosure. Meaning you can go 30, 60, 90, 120, 180 days, sometimes up to 18 months or more without paying your mortgage, depending on what type of loan you have, and the government will come in and pay your mortgage for you. Well, when I say pay, like pay your mortgage, but in reality, they're just putting that money on the back end of your loan at a 0% interest rate as a second loan, which isn't in the mortgage data, by the way, not reported as an actual loan in most cases. So you've got a tremendous amount of folks out there that have taken advantage of this program over the past few years where they haven't had to make their mortgage payment. They're not going into foreclosure. And now that is starting to change. The VA moratorium on foreclosures has ended for VA loans. That ended at the beginning of the year. And so we've seen a large increase in the number of foreclosures, not a large number necessarily, but a large percentage increase, mainly driven by the fact that VA foreclosures are now kind of hitting the market, right? They're starting to happen. And that loophole was closed. Will they bring it back? I don't know, maybe. But the FHA loophole is significant, and that has not ended. There is a change coming in September of this year. They actually just announced, I think a couple weeks ago, that the loophole will close come September of this year for FHA mortgages, meaning those folks won't have the opportunity anymore to go to extend and pretend to the extent that they're doing now. However, it hasn't gone away completely. So don't think that the government has taken away the ability of people to not pay their mortgages, because they haven't done that. They've just tightened that loophole a little bit. So right now you can really just not pay your mortgage, have the government pay your mortgage for you, or eventually the taxpayers, obviously, right? And then you can get caught up by the government and then do it again, and then do it again, and do it again. And you can do it over and over until you hit a max of 30% of your loan value in non-payments, I guess you want to call it. So that's changing. And now you can, or starting in September, you'll be able to only do that once every 18 months. But you'll still be able to do it. So don't be fooled if you hear somebody or read something about the FHA, the government is going to change that rule, and no longer will you be able to, have the government pay your mortgage for you. You can still do it. You just can't do it as much. Originally, they were going to end it next year in February. They changed that to September of this year. So we have a few months left where people can still have the mortgages paid by the government. I'd love to know what you think about that. Is that good? Is that bad? Should we allow that to continue? And here's the question, the big elephant in the room, that 800-pound gorilla in the corner, whatever you want to call it. The black swan, the red herring, the monkey in the wrench, the fly in the ointment. What is that? The bailout. Will they bail out the housing market? I mean, these numbers are clearly going up. I mean, these delinquency numbers, you can read them. The link is in my description in the Black Knight link. There's no doubt that delinquencies are rising. And if you see home prices or home values drop for people, especially for people that purchased in the last couple of years, you are going to see more delinquencies. You're going to see more pain. And you already have a massive backlog of all these people that have had their mortgages paid for them, right? And can't pay their mortgage, or maybe they can and they're just gaming the system, whatever. All that's going to be released at some point, somehow, right? You got to do something with it. Either got to bail it out, you got to make mom and pop pay for it. I don't know. Got to make somebody pay for it. Who's going to pay for it? Hard to tell. So the big question on everybody's mind, at least like in the mortgage market, you won't hear a lot of mortgage loan officers talk about this. In fact, you hear nobody talk about this, which is odd because you would think they would be right out front of it. But the big question is, what will they do with all this back debt, this default? Are they just going to let it hit the market, right? And just say, who cares? Let it all hit the market, crash it. Maybe. I don't think they'll do that. Should they? Probably. They should probably, if you know, to have a healthy housing market, you got to have ups and downs. You got to have, cycles. But foreclosures are part of the cycle. They're not, I mean, they are bad for families that have to go through that, no doubt about it. For individuals having to go through a foreclosure, it's horrible. Especially you hear about VA foreclosures, right? And that doesn't make you feel very good at all. But it's a natural part of the real estate life cycle. There are people that do really well in real estate, and there are people that can't pay their mortgages. I mean, in every situation, you should have a wide range of that, right? So foreclosures hitting a market is normal when it's at a normal pace. But if you've staved them off artificially, and now all these defaults are starting to ramp up, and you're still allowing people to stay in the homes, eventually all that has to be handled somehow. How's it going to be handled? Well, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But somebody's got to deal with it. What's up, Elton Vance? I hope big corporations don't come in and buy up more of the housing market. They very well could, Elton. They very well could. I mean, that's kind of the other hanging chat out there, right? If you're somebody who, well, hopefully what they'll do is with these FHA mortgages that are defaulting, if those go into foreclosure, they're going to put them into a program that allows only homeowners, owner occupants to buy them. They have those foreclosures. Some of the foreclosures out there, when you look at different websites, you'll see where, I can't remember the name of it. It's called like, I'm drawing a blank on the name of the program, but you'll see it in an auction where they say only owner occupants can buy this property. That's not every foreclosure though, but that would be nice, right? Allow, normal people to buy the homes first before investors. However, if prices drop and or interest rates drop a lot, there's going to be an apex at which big corporations and investors come in and buy. Not only big investors, but small investors like me are going to come in and buy. I would think. I mean, the price is going to get low enough that somebody's going to do that. Now, me, I only primarily buy small multifamily. That's my niche. Duplex, triplex, quad. That's where I live. That's not actually the house I live in, but that's what I typically buy for an investment. I don't buy a lot of single family houses. I think I only own like 3 total outside of my primary home. But big corporations love single family houses because they know they're profitable, they rent well, people like to live in them. So I can see them coming in and buying them, unfortunately. So that's another question. Great question, Elton, or topic there. Heartbreaking to lose your home only to see another family give it a shot and be in the same boat. Right. Dan Deem. Is that how you say your name? Deem? Yeah, I agree. It's I don't know. This is a bad situation. It's like brewing behind the scenes, right? I kind of think of it like a leaky pipe in your wall that you don't really know about, but you can kind of sense that it's there. Maybe like you see a water spot and you're like, what is that? Maybe that's just like a mark on the wall. No, it's like a very slow leak, right? Like a drip from your roof or something that just gets worse over time. That's what I think about. Going back to this question though, or this comment, some of these homes the corporations won't want. And what are those homes? Probably homes that need a ton of work or older homes. So if you have a home built in like 1920, which we have a lot here in Central Ohio, built in 1920, if that goes into foreclosure, a big corporation's not going to buy it. A small investor would, but a big corporation won't. Just way too many unknowns. So there, I guess corporations will stay away from that, in my opinion. But yeah, I know this is alarming. It definitely is. I look at that GFC number of 3.10% delinquency rate, and I think, man, that's before the GFC. Now we're at 3.21%. And the delinquency rate really spiked right after the GFC, actually, is when it really started going up, and spiked at 11%. And I got to give credit to 2 people. I have to give credit to, or 3, actually. Let's see. I'll give credit to Melody Wright, who has been tracking some of this FHA delinquency information for a long time, and she called it right, and she well, no pun intended. The other one would be Real Estate Mindset. Travis does a good job trying to kind of tracking this stuff too, and he talks all the time about how the delinquency rate actually increased, after, and foreclosures really happened after the GFC, not before the GFC. And I guess the other person would be Mike Zuber at One Rental at a Time. He also has had a lot of people on that talk about this type of information. So shout out to those folks. But yeah, I was shocked at this data. Let me see if there's anything else in here that was telling. Okay, top 5 states with the worst mortgage delinquencies. Louisiana, 7.52. Mississippi, 7.27. Alabama, 5.56. Indiana, 5%. And Arkansas, 4.9. Indiana surprises me because that's kind of like you've got Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, all kind of in the same region. Then you've got Indiana. So I don't know. I mean, I'm in Ohio. Maybe I ought to drive out to Indiana and see what's going on, but looks like there's a lot of delinquency there. I mean, that's up 2.9% year over year. Indiana peaked at 15%, 16% during the GFC, or in January 2010. But their low on delinquencies was 4.44. So I guess they're not huge. They're not really up that much from their low, but their delinquency rate's bad. Who's performing the best? Oregon, Montana, Colorado, Idaho, Washington, all in the Northwest, right? Well, Colorado's not, but that's surprising. Those mountain states are the best with delinquency rates. Like they have the lowest rate of delinquency. Got the birds out here today. Birds. Homes are paid off and the elderly are forced out for property taxes. You are correct. I mean, my father is, in his mid 80s, and his house is effectively paid off. His mortgage is like nothing, right? It's like, it looks like it's less than most people's car payments. Well, old car payments, I guess, when car payments were like $500. Now they're like $1,500 for those fools that do that. And he got his property tax bill, and yeah, it was like, he's got his Navy retirement, he's got his, Social Security, and he lives way below his means. Like, he lives like Yoda. And he got his property tax bill and was like, what in the world? Called me, what is this? What's going on here? And I was like, yeah, I mean, our football stadium has turf, right? Every game my son plays is on turf. He doesn't even play on grass. The kids have no idea what it's like to play football on grass. Zero idea. Back in my day, a long time ago, I played on, there was like cinders on half the field from the old cinder track. Like, the end zone was like painted in cinders. And so it was like almost like the old baseball fields you saw that were converted to football fields in the NFL. It was like that. The stadium wasn't anything impressive. Didn't really cost that much to put together, but for some reason now everybody has to have a state-of-the-art football field. And that costs money. A state-of-the-art gym, workout facility, a theater, swimming pools, these massive high schools, and they cost money. They cost money. So taxes are going to continue to go up. I don't see that changing, especially here in Ohio. Our tax rates are high. We have Intel that's still building. They'll probably be building for the next 45 years and never finish. And the property taxes have skyrocketed here. I know a lot of people who are selling, clients of mine, who have sold their property or they are selling because of taxes and insurance. It's happening. All right, what time is it? Ooh, I got to go soon. Okay, we got some little more time. What's up, Jay? FHA, I heard it's going from 18 months to 24 months. I could be wrong. Daniel DiMartino Booth helped push this to stop the fraud. You have young families in need of homes. Yeah, you may be right on that. Is it 24 months? It could be 24 months. I may have got that wrong. Thanks for clearing that up. Yeah, well, they can use it once every 24 months or 18 months, right? But they can still use it. So that loophole is still there. I just don't want people to think, I'm trying to give you some education that, and thanks for that, Jay, clearing that up, but I'm trying to give you some education that it's not going away. You may hear some people say, hey, the government and the administration has conquered FHA delinquencies and they're going to close the loophole. It's like, not really. It's still there. They should have just canceled all of it, but they didn't, unfortunately. This is very good news for so many young families who need homes to become affordable again. I agree. The only thing I would caution y'all on, and just remember this, we're not the only ones who are seeing this, right? So when I interact with people on my channel or I see others interact on other real estate channels, there's a lot of people, it feels like, are on the sidelines waiting to buy when prices are right. So I don't want people to be lulled into a false sense of security where they think if I wait for foreclosures to hit, I'll be able to find the deal of my dreams. I mean, there's going to be a lot of other people that are thinking the same thing and competing with you or young families. So I'm not sure that that's going to solve the problem because there's a lot of cash out there. It's amazing how many people have a ton of cash on the sideline, just waiting to be deployed. Corporations, individuals, young families, old families, realtors, investors, big investors, small investors. There's just money out there. And I think when the time is right and the price is right and the deal is right, they will pull the trigger because they know real estate is a good investment. Last time during the GFC, it was like, corporations and investors, there were investors, but corporations really weren't in the housing market. And then prices got to the point that it made sense for them to buy, and then they bought. Well, now they know that. So if that cycle repeats, I'm concerned. My big concern is people think, that they're going to get the deal of their dreams and everybody's going to run out and just bid up the prices of houses again and make it unaffordable. I just think there needs to be something that is a real solution with affordable housing versus waiting for doom to buy. That's, hey, I could be wrong. The houses could get to the point of prices where young families can afford them, and they'll be the only ones being able to buy. But if a corporation can't get credit, and a corporation, a large investor who owns like 1,000 homes, can't pull the trigger on a home, unless there's something preventing them from doing that, how is a young family going to be able to pull the trigger? That's kind of where my brain goes when I think about maybe in a few years in the future with prices. Oh, you said that. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Your thoughts on new construction builds? Like, do I like them or do we need more? We need more smaller homes. We need more smaller homes. Oh, wait, what time is it? Oh, I can't show it to you. I just looked at a home this week that was exactly what I think builders need to build. 900 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, basement, one bath, kitchen, living room, 2 bedrooms. That's it. Those little postage stamp homes, they're all over Columbus from like the 50s and 60s. That's what builders need to build, if that's what you're talking about, Dan. I think the government, somebody needs to give them, and I'm not a wizard, so I don't know the exact answer, but there has to be incentive for somebody to build that. The other thing I think is that if there were more incentives for me as an investor to buy older homes and fix them up, to provide houses, and the rule was I had to sell it to a owner occupant, I'd be fine with that. Like if the government or the state of Ohio or the county somehow said, hey, Jason, we'll give you like a loan, a construction loan at like 2% interest for you to come in and fix up that house that's abandoned on the corner and put a family in it or a owner occupant. You make money, Jason, the family gets a house, and we're going to keep an investor from buying it. I'd be all for that. I think that's more of a permanent solution than prices and rates going down. I mean, there's some people that think prices and rates are going to go down at the same time. If they do, expect a lot of investors to purchase homes. Expect you all to purchase homes, right? A lot of competition, I would think. But I don't hear a lot of people talk about that. They have more of like an attitude like, hey, prices are going to go down, I'll be able to buy. Well, you will, but there's going to be other people too. Your friends and colleagues and other YouTubers, other YouTube listeners or viewers, whatever, are going to want to buy as well. How many are there? Maybe more than I think, but it seems like there's a lot. But yeah, new construction, I like it. I think there needs to be more new construction. I do think we are way low on inventory. I know that narrative has been beat to death, but I think we're low on affordable homes for sale. Affordable homes for sale. James Johnson, we need to lobby for that. Yeah, I mean, we do. I've talked to some local officials about that type of program, and they have the same attitude I have, which is, yeah, that's great and everything. That's what we need to do. But that's a non-fun, a non-headline solution. The headline solution is eliminate property taxes and we'll all be okay. Really? Really? There's going to be another tax. They're going to have to get the money from somewhere. I hear others say once all the fraud, greed, and corruption is out of the school system, we'll be able to finally afford homes. Really? The fraud, greed, and corruption out of school systems? There's probably been fraud, greed, and corruption in school systems since school systems were in place. You're going to wait till you get rid of that? You can't live to be 1,000 years old. That's never going to go away. So to wait for that is nuts. I think I agree with you, James. There has to be some type of incentive for somebody like me to invest in a house, to fix it up and give it to a family, or a builder to build a small house that's not exciting, 900 square feet, 2-bedroom, 1-bath, living room, maybe 3-bedroom, 1-bath. I flipped some of those homes. and they are easy to flip, and they are they're great. They're great. I'll do a live maybe next week where I can show you this house I've been looking at buying. I ended up not buying it. It was built in the 40s, needs everything, needs a complete rehab, probably $90,000 in work. But it's a small house that would turn into a perfect affordable home. And by the way, the list price on that home would probably be 160, and that would turn a profit for a flipper, and it would allow a family to move in, have an affordable place to live. 160, all redone, 100% new, right? New bathroom, kitchen, flooring, roof, windows, heating system, all that stuff dialed in. That's the other thing. There are way too many people that have to have central air conditioning. That's an example of making a house way too expensive. You don't need that. There's no requirement to have air conditioning, central air. Get a window air conditioner. People have been using those forever. I grew up without air conditioning. I'm sure you may have as well. If you're my generation or even this generation, it doesn't matter. People live without air conditioning. It's possible. So I think you get granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, air conditioning, 3,500 square feet, and home prices go through the roof, right? Keep it small and tiny. Boy, we could go on and on about this, but I gotta get to an appointment, guys. Hey, listen, thank you so much for joining me today. I saw this info pop out yesterday on Black Knight. I thought it was worth sharing. Mortgage delinquencies continue to rise. What do you think they're going to do about it? I don't know what the government's going to do. Will they bail us out? Will they not bail us out? Will they let it crash? Will they do a rug pull like they did with tariffs? 150%. Just kidding, 10%. 120%. Just kidding, 10%. I don't know. Who knows what they'll do? But I do know you have to take your life and your success into your own hands. So there are ways to buy homes, affordable homes now, without waiting for somebody to do it for you or the fraud to leave the system. May not be what you want to hear, but that is a fact, because I find homes all the time that anybody could find if they did the work. I'm not a wizard, but they're out there. They just take some persistence and then some sweat equity to make them livable. Anyway, all right, I got to roll. Have a great day. We will talk to you soon. My Redfin update is coming out today. I did a video, not a live on that. I did a great Redfin update, covered a bunch of cities across the US, and a deep dive into what's happening in the housing market. So prices look like they may start to fall in a lot of metros. So be on the lookout for that. Have a great day. We'll see you later. I'm the housing nerd. I'm out.